has never just been about developing the mind. The national curriculum is aimed at the whole child, and physical education has a unique contribution to make by focusing on the body.
Play loosens you up and it keeps you bright and happy. Play is much better than work. You don't have to do any writing. Play helps you listen to the teacher, because at one point you have to listen to the teacher, because if you don't, it's dangerous. I like play because it's fun and it's good for your health. I like it, it's just feel good.
Are growing very quickly. Their movement patterns are relatively immature, and therefore the body management skills are very important indeed. And it's only later that we can then
Although working each at their own level, there's a sophistication apparent amongst the top juniors that's exceptional. This impressive range of controlled and expressive movements has depended on a whole school approach.
The children are working in quite a complicated way. This doesn't just happen. They have been working very simply from first-year infants, and they have been taught, well, not taught, they've been exploring sounds and the way they can move to the sounds they hear. Then by the time they reach the top class, they can think what they need to use to show a different sound.
Arthur Naylor, head teacher and curriculum leader for PE, sees body management as a form of literacy.
It's like asking people to write a book with 20 words if we limit the vocabulary. And it's the very same thing in movement, but one has to be able to fall back on all the different movements within the physical dimension to be able to say, this is what I want to say.
So the development of movement must start with the infants, and high on the agenda at Baldwin Street comes awareness of space and direction.
Now we're going to start off this afternoon with some good walking. Can you put your hands up and tell me what you're going to think about whilst we're doing good walking?
We're doing changing directions.
Right, let's see, what directions can you go in?
Go backwards, forwards, sideways.
Good lad, yes, we can go backwards, forwards, sideways.
Every child needs to know about the space, because it's not only a social thing, it's a practical thing as well. The children must know that when they're travelling around, that they're not going to bump into someone else or someone else is not going to bump into them. And travelling, of course, is the next thing that comes into it. But we should all know how we can travel on feet.
Now then, let's see if we can change it from that lovely quiet walking that we've been doing and see if we can do some really noisy, stampy sort of walking, really let me hear your feet on the floor, looking for spaces and changing directions. Oh, that's lovely, Sarah.
Building up a vocabulary of movement is nothing particularly new. Indeed, body shapes at Baldwin Street are developed quite traditionally.
Lots of people have different language for this. I try to limit the number of shapes, for example, that one can do. I don't think the language matters so long as teachers and children understand what we are talking about.
And quick into your feet, and let me see you stretching up to the ceiling as thin as you can, like an arrow going up to the ceiling. And stretch up, everybody get higher than me.
But however traditional, the sense of progression is clear. Space, shape, speeds and so on provide the ingredients for extended pattern work, singly or in pairs as the children advance through the school. Until their top junior level, potential for personal expression is matched with technical confidence. Controlled body management is a life skill and the mainstay of the primary PE curriculum. But an equal entitlement today as ever is the games lesson.
There's been a great deal of media hype over the last 3 or 4 years about physical education thrown at it.
At Welby Street Games lessons balance creative work with more technical, sometimes didactic, skills-based teaching, but at all times the activities are participatory and hands-on.
Lie on it, catch it well. Pull it into yourself, direct it back.
Well, I don't believe that large team games are important. At our level, I'm quite content for the individual 2-3s approach, small or kick a ball, without having to wait 40 minutes for the ability to touch a ball, which is often seen in the large team games. So the main thing is that children are participating and being part.
But again, this process starts by providing the children with a degree of technical expertise.
And stop. What?
Once they started to work collectively in the hall, we can then build that up.
It's good if you make up a game, because one day if you're just sitting around and you have lots of spare time, a game might just jump into your mind and then you could just go and play it with a friend.
What do we need to think about when we make up our own games?
One of our games called the name of the game is Double Sport Game, and it's two games mixed together. First give you a net and play, you have a ball and you just draw a rectangle with a line through the middle. You've got to make the ball hit on the other side of the rectangle and bounce out, and then that's how you get a point. But you can't deliberately just throw it right out. You have to be very aware of your shape. It's either narrow or wide. If I look at you, I should know immediately what you're doing.
The main thing I'm looking for in an apparatus session is if the child has answered the problem that I have set properly. Educational problem-solving PE is equally central to the approach at Welby Street, where the children make their own choices as to how they will tackle each challenge.
I don't want them to go and do the same thing that I suggest. I don't say, everybody go and do this, go and stand on your head, or go and make a wide shape and then move it into a narrow shape. I want them to have the freedom of choice to be able to develop in their own way. I don't want 26 children all doing exactly the same thing. I want them doing what they can do, and I want them to do it well.
Physical education will move more towards problem solving, and this is absolutely essential if we're going to cater for the needs of all children.
But all this begs an important question: how best to control what seems at first a difficult teaching situation?
Having all the children together in the hall moving about, often very quickly and for very long distances, could be potentially quite a dangerous situation. And as a teacher, I...
And to change also, to jettison the benefits of child-centred PE and dress up in old-fashioned didacticism. There's a middle ground that finds strategies to cope with organisational disruption, that creates strict frameworks to avoid danger, yet remains sufficiently open-ended to maximise PE's educational potential.
But make it better this time. Think about how you can make it better.
At Carnegie, pre-service teachers work with local primary schools to develop the flexibility needed to keep PE safe and stimulating.
Either standing back and letting children solve problems themselves, and by looking at the video.
But if not barking orders, clear instructions are important, creating a framework upon which lessons can be built.
Of course, in physical education, one of the first chinks in...
To see a shape on the floor that's going to lead you onto the apparatus. So you've got to think about whether you're going to get on the apparatus with arms and hands, or whether you're leading on with feet. I also want you to think about how you're going to finish, how you're going to get off the apparatus. A really good finish. See what ideas you've got for that. Right? Show me where you're going to start. Go.
If the basic communication skills are employed, the teacher can shift quite easily along the continuum between the didactic and the problem-solving styles, and class control remains...
Set their own limits on what they can do, and are aware of putting themselves in dangerous situations. It's like any way with the curriculum.
In a clear framework, keep the teaching situation well controlled. But there's a further difficulty with open-ended challenges. With every child meeting the challenge a fresh way, the teacher must know how to respond.
children are very immediate creature. This is good. I like it. But that calls on from the part of the teacher the ability to be able to see what is happening. Some technical expertise, if you like. You see, the real secret from the teacher point of view is to be
vital for teachers to create a dialogue with the children. Back at Carnegie, Jackie, the pre-service teacher, sets up a pupil demonstration which should be an ideal opportunity to reinforce good work. But the demonstration is unsuccessful.
What's your name? Kimberly. Would you like everybody watch Kimberly?
The response that they're able to give you during the lesson.
A good teacher is a good teacher in any context, and allowing children to choose their responses shouldn't be seen as opening the door to chaos. Of course, not all the anxiety some teachers feel about PE is so theoretical. There are pragmatic organisational issues to be resolved too.
When it comes to operators work, that's the area where some teachers feel insecure. They can do everything else to teach their children to get the apparatus out. They cooperate with each other. They have to measure the distance. They have to know the distances, not just measure them. Estimate the distances between platforms where the inclines will go, the connecting bits. They have to know where the mats will go, and they follow the plan.
Encouraging children to put up apparatus for themselves begins at ground level with the reception classes. Using these design plans is a good example of PE's cross-curricular potential. In this case, they're developing skills useful in mathematics, but PE's cross-curricular role goes much deeper than that.
If they're not physically effective, it's very difficult for them, for instance, to dress themselves in the morning,
Is it going faster than the last time? Yes, much faster, isn't it?